Did you hear that Netflix won't be sending movies to Cannes? That A Quiet Place has broken horror box office records? What about the brand new trailer to Solo, a Star Wars story? No? We've got you covered. Welcome to the CineFiles, a weekly show where we zoom in on the most buzzworthy news Hollywood and the indie scene has to offer. Before we begin, be sure to subscribe to Mojo Talks for the CineFiles Extended Cut, a weekly discussion show where we break down the week's biggest stories. Link in the description below. Number 3. Solo, a Star Wars story drops new trailer.
If you come with us, you're in this life for good.
Just a few months ago, Solo, a Star Wars story was shrouded in mystery and controversy. Directors were fired, actors needed coaching, and not a single teaser released.
Thought we were in trouble there for a second, but it's fine. We're fine.
This week was a far cry from those times, as the latest installment in the Star Wars franchise ensured it stayed in the headlines for days to come. Solo dropped its first official trailer and gave audiences a great look at what to expect from the standalone film.
A little rough around the edges, but good.
The trailer brings us to many different planets, with many fans speculating that we see Corellia, Han's home planet, and the snowy geography of Vandor. There are also hilarious throwback quotes to the original trilogy, the possible moment where Han gets his iconic blaster, and of course, the revelation that Chewie is super old.
190 years old? You look great!
There's also a theory that the other Wookiee in the trailer is Chewie's wife Mala, who appears in the Christmas special as well as numerous books.
What do you think? Well, what do you know?
Number 2. A Quiet Place breaks major horror box office records. The movie itself may be silent, but that hasn't stopped John Krasinski's horror movie from making lots of noise at the box office. A Quiet Place soared above ticket sale estimates, $20 million above to be precise, to become the biggest opening ever for an original horror movie. The film also became the third highest horror opening of all time, sitting behind only Paranormal Activity 3 and It. The records don't stop there, as the horror flick also earned the second best debut of 2018. The film, which opened to critical acclaim at South by Southwest, stars John Krasinski, who also directed the film. His wife and Golden Globe nominee Emily Blunt also stars in the film, which centers on a family who must live a soundless lifestyle to avoid killer monsters that respond and track through noise. Before we get to our final entry, here are a couple new releases.
What's happening to my friend?
Are you familiar with genetic editing? Changes will be incredibly unpredictable.
Is he the only one?
Oh, you didn't know about the 30-foot wolf?
I brought you all up here because I'm okay with strangers dying if it means I get to live.
What the hell?
The game's real. Okay, wherever you go, whatever you do, it'll find you.
Okay.
Number 1. Netflix bails on Cannes after festival rule changes. Looks like the honeymoon phase between Netflix and the prestigious Cannes Film Festival has ended.
You should know the situation is not good.
After screening a number of Netflix films last year like Okja and the Meyerowitz stories, Netflix announced that they would not be sending any of their originals to the festival in 2018. Festival director Thierry Frémaux announced that the streaming giant would not be eligible for awards because they do not allow their films' theatrical releases in France.
You're on the list for the public viewing. Right now, this is a private viewing.
Tell her it's a mistake. Tell her this is bullshit.
While Netflix is still able to send movies to Cannes in a non-competitive fashion, they have instead opted not to. France has laws in place to protect motion pictures, and one of the stipulations is that films can't appear on streaming services for 36 months after they play in theaters, a move that Netflix obviously doesn't like. This situation continues to add fuel to the streaming versus theater fire, one that most recently saw iconic filmmaker Steven Spielberg announce that Netflix shouldn't be considered for the Academy Awards.
Once you commit to a television format, you're a TV movie. You certainly, if it's a good show, deserve an Emmy, but not an Oscar.
Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe to our Mojo Talks YouTube channel for the video version of the CineFiles Extended Cut. Link in the description below.